Yes, y'all, and we are back. Another episode of Fight Court. I'm your boy, Dean Thomas, Ryan Quinn, riding shotgun. But it's not about us today. The man of the hour, a major player in the game right now, a man who everybody that I know wants to be affiliated with, now joins the show. Put your hands together for my man, Darren Owen. Darren, I gotta know right away, man. You're kind of mysterious to me. So the first thing I want to know is how you got into MMA.
Seen a VHS tape on the top shelf that said UFC 1.
Qualified.
Before that, it was WWF, before the WWE era came along. Huge into wrestling fan from playing with the action figures, like had the ring, had the guys. I would be obsessed with that. All my friends like dress up in our Hulk Hogan or Ultimate Warrior gear. And then the moment it became real was that transition over to MMA fan, hardcore ever since.
Love it. Well, like Ryan said, qualified, man. I mean, I think that's kind of how we all started watching VHS tapes back in the day. But now that brings us to today, the Global Fight League. You are the front man, the CEO, founder, co-founder.
Commissioner to league. Technically.
Commissioner. Okay, commissioner. I love that, commissioner. A very audacious thing you got going on here. Very, I feel like you guys have something that you put out there that's got everybody talking. It's a bold move. It's a bold move. And without divulging too much of, you don't have to show me too many cards, but I don't know, man. I'm a little skeptical. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a little skeptical. So, and that's why I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to see if you could help me believe in this thing.
Sure. Simply put, this is just what I believe is the logical evolution for the sport of mixed martial arts. We see amazing leagues around the world that implement their sport in a certain way, whether that's baseball, basketball, soccer, football, race car, driving, bull riding, cricket, rugby. They all follow a very similar business model. And that's sharing revenues with the athletes, having independent owners with teams of finite number of athletes that can be a part of that team. And collectively, they all create content. And the content they create from their home events creates a library of collective content. That's why the NFL is so valuable. That's why the NBA is so valuable. It's the media rights of everyone doing their thing together. It's a strength in numbers approach instead of just the New York Yankees trying to do all the baseball games for an entire season and having 4,000 baseball players on their roster where how important are those guys to that owner? And then who owns it? And typically, most professional sports leagues owners are billionaires, and they have the funds to take care of the athletes properly, make sure they're compensated and they're cared for, and they have the best coaching in the world, and they pay for the best coaches because they want whatever legal advantage they have against whatever other billionaire is bringing out their soccer team or their baseball team. So why wouldn't the third most popular sport in the world, a sport that is truly global in a day and a time where technology is more advanced, we can do a lot of things that we couldn't have done in the past. We have these great examples of all of these leagues for decade and decade and decade where, the athletes come and go, but the Yankees are there. The Lakers are there. The Red Sox are there. These teams. And what's the value of these teams? If you own a professional sports team in a popular sport, it's in the multiple billions and only getting bigger and skyrocketing. And now you have a day and age where AI is kind of doing some wild things and taking over a lot of content, and it'll take over a lot of TV shows, but it's not going to take over live sports. The value of live sports has skyrocketed. The media rights for live sports has skyrocketed. Like these are hundreds of like NFL's 9-year, $110 billion TV deal rights deal. And guess what? That money flows down to the athletes. They get paid. They're taken care of. They're not flying on economy and paying for their cornermen to come to their fight. Like, let's level this sport up. Like, this is the necessary evolution for the sport of MMA. Like, time to catch up to the rest of the world. And this is just hey, we know this wheel works because it works in every other sport around the world. So let's just apply this model that works for everybody to a sport. It's the fastest growing in the world. It's the most exciting sport in the world. And for these billionaires who are going to own these teams, what's more cool than I'm going to walk out with my team of trained assassins to come fight your team of trained assassins? Like, this is modern day gladiator type of stuff. This is where this goes.
Darren, oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, that's it. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I understand there's risk because this is such a new model. I mean, something similar has been done with the IFL. However, I understand too, when I heard your interview with Ariel Helwani, I loved how you said a couple things. First, you said that you were going to launch this in 2021, then things weren't right, and you didn't pull the trigger. You know, you didn't get overzealous, and you waited till it was right, and you feel that's now. Also, I loved how you said, you didn't say I have a sponsor, you said I have an investor. I'm like, all right, they did it right. There's some real money behind this, not somebody that's going to show up for one show and leave. And to your point about the fastest growing sport, and this is the evolution like other sports, I can't wait till the day where they're talking about, well, they're kind of doing it now, but more so it's going to be with a model like this, with this format, where they're talking about where an NFL team signs an offensive coordinator, the Miami team signs a ground coach or a striking coach, strength and conditioning. I love all of that. You know, I think that that's what's coming, and that's what gets me excited about it. General managers, I can't wait. Well, I'll save that question for after. I just made me think of something else, but I want to see this in MMA in the worst way. As Dean knows, I love all the sports management stuff. My first question, speaking of the coaches, what is the difference between a coach and a manager? I saw those were announced. What is the difference between a coach and a manager for a team?
Depends on kind of who they are. Like, obviously with Miami, Thiago and Conan, both phenomenal coaches. That was more of a, hey, like, what's the right thing to kind of do here? Just to have them both involved. Obviously we've, currently have a lot of their athletes signed that train there. So, wanted to kind of just keep that in the family. And then some others are just obviously more hands-on coach. Rafael Cordero, for example, where Vanderlei, not the biggest coach, but someone we wanted to include in what we're doing and, pay homage to some of the legends out there that have kind of paved the way for everyone and help us get to where we are. So, trying to give back a little bit there. And also, these are globally popular superstars. So we obviously want to attach them to the brand and have them come along for the ride with us. For sure.
So now there's the inaugural draft on Friday. Can't wait for it. Yeah, I can't wait to watch it. I think it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be so fun.
So yeah, it's going to be, I told Dean, I think we might be watching it on here. I can't wait to see all the names pulled out, which we're going to get into some of the talent in a little bit, but so is there going to be a draft every year, or is it just going to be one draft and you're going to build from the team through there out?
So most of our contracts are just 1 season terms.
Okay.
So part of this was what's one of the problems in this sport? Fighters being locked in when they don't want to be locked in. Mm-hmm. So I'm literally trying to fix all the problems that we know exist, whether it's weight cutting, inactivity, or freedom. So let's give them that freedom. Like, some of these guys are going to go box in some wild places. And I'm like, great. It's just going to grow the ecosystem. Right. So this is more about an all of us play than it is, hey, we want your rights. We don't want you going over there. We don't want you, being seen at this show or that show. I don't care. Go to whatever show. Go to all the shows.
Darren, I can appreciate your passion. When you speak, I'm listening. I love your passion for the sport. I mean, it's very genuine, and I love that. Now, Ryan mentioned the IFL, and a lot of people would say, okay, we've tried this team thing before. I don't necessarily believe that it can't work now, but I want to hear how you approached it.
I love this question. I love this because everyone brings it up. Like everyone, well, they tried teams before and it failed. Okay, so first off, let's just ask, how many times have teams really been tried before and failed? I think we can all say one time, IFL. Okay, 0 for 1. And were they structured in an actual league model? No, they weren't. They were structured in a promotional model. The exact same way all of the other MMA entities have been structured. So business model wise, we're still 0 for 0 in league model. Okay, so then we talk, number one, that was 20 years ago. Why are we still talking about IFL if it wasn't a thing? Like name another random promotion that was here and there and gone within a year, 2 years from 20 years ago. Okay, King of the Cage, oh, they were around for a long time, right? It's kind of hard. How many promotions that have come in existence of all of MMA have used the same model that everyone uses? And how many of those have actually been successful? I think we can all agree one of them, LFA, they're doing well. There's some European promotions that are doing different stuff. They're doing well. But long term, there's one. We all know who it is. And they've killed it.
Yeah.
So what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results? Or maybe we do something just different, and not try to do what everyone else has done, or not care to do what everyone else has done. I know factually where all of the best fighters on the world are. They're not free agents right now. I want the most popular fighters in the world. I want the best characters. I want ones that are going to put on exciting fights and entertain. This is about entertainment. I'm sure we all saw the numbers Jake Paul, Mike Tyson did. Those are not the best fighters in the world. No disrespect. Tyson was the GOAT for a long time. My son is Mike Tyson.
Okay? You don't need, no need to be PR here.
And,
yeah.
And Jake's a great boxer. He's killing it. Good for him. But we're just doing our own thing, and we're doing a different thing, and we're doing it like no one's ever done it before. We're not trying to be like anybody else. I want to have shorter time between fights, more elaborate entrances. Let's have some fun with this. And the fact that we own all the teams right now, let's make the trades that we need to make the fights everybody wants to see. So this isn't you're stuck in this format of this and that. And no, that's extra. Hey, I don't watch a football game to look at the stats and the standings at the end of it. I watch a football game because I love watching football, number one. But number two, well, I'm a diehard 49er fan. So I cheer for my team, which will bring that element into it as well. But it's the different sports and the love for that. But betting lines, all of a sudden now we have over-unders. We have total points for, points against. We have betting on the season, bet on the teams. So we just create more different ways for fans to interact. Fantasy MMA, we can actually do that properly where that makes sense. So it's not the individual person, the individual team. We bring in that team aspect of it. Dude, we got dope logos. We got super dope team names.
Can't wait.
This, we all know the number one driver in sports fandom is cheering for your favorite team. There are no teams in this sport. And the fact that we can go anywhere, we can go global anywhere, because it makes sense to go global anywhere for this sport. That's what's happening.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I love it. I mean, it's remarkable what you're saying. And that's what I told people too. When everybody says, oh man, we tried this with the IFL, I was like, dude, that was a long time ago. And timing is everything. The timing certainly wasn't right for that. And maybe they didn't even do things the right way. So I believe in your opportunity here and to do something different. Now talking about the fight, like an event itself. So each team has a representative.
Men and women on the same team.
Right.
Men and women sharing from the same revenue pool. That's never been done. In all sports, that's never been done.
Right. So And talking about an event, how many fights do you intend to have per event? If there's what all the weight classes, are you just having just those weight classes and then maybe a couple extra fights, or is it going to be 2 fights in each weight class?
No, so how that works is first the roster, right? 6 teams, 10 weight categories, 7 men's weight categories, 3 women's weight categories. Each team has 2 fighters. So there's teammates at each weight category. So a total roster is 20 fighters, 14 men, 6 women. And if they get injured, they go in injury reserve. We sign a free agent. They take their place for as long as they take their place for. Once fighters ready to get back in, they take their spot back. So essentially each team has teammates at each of the 10 weight categories. Now, each event is one of those teammates from each of those weight categories fights another team from one of the weight categories. So it's 10 fights per event.
Okay.
So it's London versus Dubai. It'll be a heavyweight, a middleweight, a featherweight. So every fight now you have number one, emotional investment to cheer for your team. So it's, I'm a Miami fan. I'm from Florida. Let's beat Dubai's ass. So we're cheering for this team. And so every fight you have that emotional investment that this is why I cheer for this team. Like it's easy. Are you cheering for red or are you cheering for blue? So like that part makes it easy to bring in just general sports fans. And then, and we're also going to do fan determined fight order. So the fight card will be determined by the fans. So if you want to watch Paige Van Zandt headline a card, put Paige Van Zandt up there. And if enough people do, that's where she'll fight. If you're not as popular, you're going to fight at the beginning of the card. So, let's interact with the fans. Let's them have their say. Every fight's going to have the same 10 fights. So what does the order really matter? We could do it by weight, but we'll probably do that in the championship round. But that's how we're going to do that.
So you answered one of my other questions about trades. There's going to be trades or trade. There's going to be, you're eligible for trades.
100%.
Oh, beautiful. Awesome. So that's fucking great. So this format has a very unique opportunity that I don't think people realize, where you're going to see a lot of stars from tomorrow, or stars for tomorrow, fighting a lot of stars from yesterday or kind of now. Have a lot of opportunities to make a name for themselves. You're going to build a lot more stars by doing that, just because they're going to be forced to fight big names and they're going to catch the eye of the consumer, which is freaking awesome. Is there any, like, you announced, if anyone wants to know what I'm talking about, go on their Instagram page and see the people they signed in the last week or so. Is there any name that maybe isn't that well known that for you comes to mind that this guy or girl is going to be a savage? Keep your eye on him.
Dude, we got a roster of some of the best fighters that have ever lived. Mm-hmm. To point one out, there's no way. Like, no, honestly, none particularly come to mind. Like, we have the best global superstars that are on their way or already kind of like hitting that peak. And we have a lot who have been there, and we're the best on the planet for a while, or a long while. Mm-hmm. So, we have that mix. It's also, I don't know who's going to end up on all these teams yet, right? There's, so we have, our contracts are very uniquely structured. So there's a guarantee for every fighter. There's a percentage of the revenue share. So they either get or the greater amount of their guaranteed purse or their revenue share percentage amount. So they may go into an event thinking that, I'm walking away with 50 grand, but their rev share may pay them 100 grand. So and obviously every contract is different for the most part, as far as the amounts and what somebody's value. So some have a significantly higher revenue share amount than 1%. And for our model to work, we have to stay in that 50% revenue share. So each team has a salary cap essentially for the rev share points for each of those athletes. So once they kind of start filling that up, so that's why you're going to see our stars kind of across all of the teams, just because one team wouldn't be able to kind of draft.
Sustained, yep.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Darren, I appreciate you coming on. I told you I'd cut you loose. But yeah, man, I don't just appreciate you coming on, but taking the lead on this. And, because what you're doing is extremely ambitious. And I know there's a lot of skeptical people. I was one. And I'm glad you came on and answered a lot of my questions. And I love your passion and enthusiasm for the sport. I am 100% rooting for you. Every friend I know has signed with the GFL. So, yeah, we need organizations to make money. So, except for Ryan. Ryan hasn't signed.
We're friends now?
Yeah, no, that's probably why you haven't signed.
He was trying to get a contract before he came on. He was just like, "Yo, man, just shoot me one. I just want to have the clout that I was in the GFL draft."
He's a cheerleader.
Yeah, this is my. Hey, wait, pick me.
All right, Darren, I appreciate it, man. Best of luck. I'll be watching the draft on Friday. If I can get an opportunity, I'll do the simulcast with Ryan. But
yeah,
appreciate you, man. Have a good day and best of luck.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Darren, see you in Miami whenever you're down here, man. Can't wait.
Sounds good, brother. Have a good one.
All right.
There we have it. Darren Owens, commissioner of the GFL, came in and shot his shot. I've never not been rooting for them.
Of course not.
It's never been about
you're not rooting.
It's never been about wanting them to fail.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to succeed. Him coming on speaks a lot about his confidence in the company to do well. Because, some guys, they just want to hide and then see what happens. If it doesn't work, they never really came out and said anything. So his confidence to come on a show and speak his piece so passionately and eloquently, how he's done, how he just did is great. So I'm rooting for him. Still not 100% if it's going to work, right? Like no one knows, and just because he spoke so passionately doesn't mean that it's going to work. So I still have my doubts, but I'm rooting for him even more.
Well, Dean, we've seen tenfold the amount of promotions or leagues come into this game and fail to the ones that succeeded. So it's I like what he's got going. I think that he could do it right. I think that they could do it right, and I'm rooting for it. I'm looking forward to more. Like I want to know more too. Like what's the activity of the fighters? Do they have to fight a certain amount of times to be playoff eligible? Whatever the case. But I think that it sounds like he's got it. He's got it unlocked, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, looking forward. Now we look behind. We look back. We look back at the weekend, and we have a little bit of time. Not a lot of time. I don't want to take up too much.
Yeah, we got time. Our fans love us.
Okay, our fans love. I've heard somebody say our show needs to be longer. I was like, man, have you tried talking to Ryan?
I don't. Yeah.
I was like, it's hard talking to this dude for 30 minutes.
After 10 minutes talking, I'm looking at my phone. You think you're so funny, and you're not.
I know. Like this is annoying. All right, so UFC 311 over the weekend. I was live in attendance. It was an amazing show, an amazing spectacle, an amazing production. The fights delivered. So my man Andreas Hale, he works for ESPN, and after the fights, he grades each fight on a grading system.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he grade Andreas. Well, I have him on the show one of these days, but he grades fights, and the gradings of these fights, man, the remarks, they were high. Like there was only a couple of fights that were like, okay, there was a couple of fights where, okay, that was a dud, but the rest of them A, B plus. So it got a good score in terms of the fights that delivered. I was happy with the show, but some things that really stood out. Let's take it from Payton Talbot first. We'll start at Payton Talbot. He's not what we wanted him to be right now. Right now, he's not what we wanted him to be. Mm-hmm. Could he get there? Perhaps. No one knows. Like he's got a lot of positives moving forward in his career. He's tough. He's durable. He is comfortable inside the cage. He can punch. We know that, but he's got a lot to work on in terms of knowing how to fight at the elite, at the high level. Not even an elite level, but even at a high level. So I think he's got a lot to work on. Anything stand out to you with Payton Talbot?
Yeah, I saw, and I don't like shitting on fighters, but I saw a lot that I didn't like in that fight out of him. Like halfway through the second round, it looked like he accepted the loss, like just his demeanor, his body language, and I didn't like it. And then he got mounted like 5 or 6 times, and like he was just flat on his back. It's like, how do you not? This is how many? What is it like? He's got double-digit fights, and this is how many fights in the UFC, and you're going to stay flat on your back when you're in the guard or in half guard. It's like, dude, this is like fundamental stuff. And
I don't think he anticipated that. And when you can't anticipate that and bounce back from that, I mean, when you probably don't end up in there in practice and know how to bounce back. Because I was texting, and I'm not going to name him. I know you want me to name him. I was texting with a very high-powered coach during that fight, and he was like, "Yo, this is why you can't train at a small gym, because you just don't have people putting pressure on you like this to know that you can still bounce back." And there may be some truth to that. I don't necessarily think that that's attributed to being a small gym problem.
Yeah,
you can bring people in.
I was going to say.
Yeah, but I mean, there is truth to like not having good enough people every day for you to get that type of look. And perhaps he just never really got that type of look to realize, I can be down and come back and bounce. Because you got to think, like, going in as a minus 700 favorite, he didn't think he'd be mounted in that fight for half a round. So
yeah,
it might have mentally fucked him. He might have been mentally fucked.
Yeah, I don't believe in the small gym thing either, but I know what you're talking about. Quality, quantity. Like Glover Teixeira all through COVID trained with Alex Pereira, just the two of them. Clearly that was working just fine. And then even after COVID, Glover, he had a gym of like 5 or 6 people, none of which fought in the high level except for Alex. And
right,
that worked just fine.
You need experience. Like if you have a small gym, you need guys that have experience. Mm-hmm. And in him in Reno, I don't think he has those type of guys that have experience.
Yeah.
So he hit an obstacle, a little hiccup. He'll come back.
I mean, Honey's good. That was experience. He's got the experience. Honey Bostel is like, somebody won the fight too. Somebody didn't just lose the fight. Honey looked
right. I mean, Honey took it to him.
Yeah.
Kevin Holland and Rainer de Ritter. I shit all over Rainer de Ritter, and I still don't know much about him. I think Kevin did just as much to lose that fight as Rainer did to win. Like, we know that if you allow Rainer to get in his spots, he's world class. He's a world class finisher. Yep. There is no doubt in my mind about that. And I love the fact that he shouted out jiu-jitsu like he's a world class finisher. I just thought that Kevin would have done a better job earlier in that fight to make it a fight.
Absolutely. I thought, he didn't like even worry about keeping distance. He just, and then when it happened, I was like, I guess that was coming. I'm thinking like he's going to change around, but it's like, he's like the kind of guy that needs one step back to project forward, or, I mean, he'll win his next one, but it's like, man, it's like Jekyll and Hyde, which personality is going to show up. But I'm with you. With Ritter, I didn't see anything that makes him think he's not good or anything, but I didn't see anything that makes him stand out, that he's the next, he's the truth, like he's the next real deal.
Yeah, I think if he gets a lot of fighters in the spots that he had on Kevin, or even Gerald Meerschaert, right? Like, I think if he gets a lot of those guys in that spot, but I just don't think he's going to get that spot on a lot of guys. I just don't think he moves his feet good enough in the striking department. He got hit against Gerald a lot and was still able to come forward because Gerald don't really have that pop like that. But I'm not wishing bad on him. Maybe I want him to prove me wrong. Listen, fighter, when I talk shit about you, if you think I'm talking shit about you, I'm not. I'm paying attention to you. And I want you to prove me wrong because I want to see some good shit. So prove me wrong. Show me some good shit. And I think Rainer's got some fantastic jiu-jitsu, great finishing ability. Prove me wrong. Go out there and do this to everybody.
I don't know. You say some things in between the rounds sometimes, though. That's
I'm like, yo, this dude, what he tripping? All right, moving down the card. What was the fight before? Oh, Jamahal and
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I'm about to skip Jamahal and Jiri, or Jiri and Jamahal, shall I say?
I mean, I wasn't surprised Jiri won. I didn't think it would happen that way. I thought he was going to be able to work the body more, but and the internet is making his counter knockout punch like the next coming, but it was nice, but it wasn't like it was just he caught him and cracked him, with two crazy strikers like that.
He caught him a lot with that punch.
The follow-up hook was nice.
Yeah.
The follow-up hook was nice, but I mean, no, okay, I don't mean to shit on it that bad, but like I just didn't think he was going to win that way. I thought he was going to beat up Jamahal in the body, if anything, land some kicks and knees, and then eventually crack him up. But yeah, Jamahal was just a little bit behind. It was just like he just couldn't gauge the 1-2. He couldn't fight in the box, and and man. Hats off to Jiri, because his hands were low. Like I was saying, my friends were texting me like, why are his hands so low? I'm like, first rule of boxing, always protect the nipples and the belly button. And they didn't know I was joking at first, but his hands were low, and he kept that distance, and his head movement. That's right. His head movement was.
You move your head better when your hands are lower. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you do.
It's true. It's true.
It helps with your balance to be able to go side to side, up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And that honestly, and it's weird because no one could have predicted Jiri to come out and look that good, because he's never looked that good. His head movement has never been that sharp. And when you have that many fights, your room for improvement it can be high, but you never really see people actualize that.
Yep.
You never really see people get that much better after they've had so many fights. And the fact that he did, Jamahal just had to be the guinea pig on this. He had to be the one that had to suffer from the improvements that Jiri made, and I talked to Jamahal's coach afterwards in the hotel. He was like, yo, honestly, we didn't expect him to be that good and hard to hit. Like, we know he's kind of wild, but we didn't expect him to be that hard to hit. We didn't expect him to slip and rip the way he did. Like, those were all new tricks. And when you watch Jiri fight, you can go back to all of his fights, and he's never done that before. And now he decides to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, now you decide to do this. Jamahal couldn't have been ready for that.
For you fighters that are trying to develop your striking, forget about your arms and just start moving your head. And you see when your head movement with those of you who lack striking, like, this is what I used to do. I had shitty striking, so when I developed my head movement and let my head movement define which punch was coming out, it developed my striking more. So that's a pretty prime example of how your head movement could really help your striking.
But the drama of that fight was what separated all the other fights for me, because the tension was so thick before that fight. When Jiri was walking down the tunnel coming into, and Jamahal was waiting for him at the cage door, just staring at him, waiting for him. I mean, it was so tense. And then when they got in the octagon and they're staring at each other, so tense. I mean, it was sheer entertainment. I hope they got broken up. I know they didn't get fighted tonight, but I hope that Dana broke them off.
Took care of them. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, because, and honestly, the reaction from the crowd during that fight, the comeback, and then when Jiri would knock him down, I mean, it was louder for that than any other moments in the night.
I mean, I thought it was more exciting than the main event.
Yeah, or definitely the main event,
or not the main event, the co-main event.
The co-main event. Well, let's get into the co-main event. We had Merab. I predicted Merab to win this fight, basically kind of the way he did, but I didn't predict him to look as comfortable in what was considered kind of a close fight early on.
Mm-hmm.
You predict Merab to start running away from guys, but he always starts off pretty good and runs away from guys. But he didn't look like the better fighter.
No,
but he never looked uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
He never looked like he was going to panic and do something stupid. Like, the whole fight, he looked comfortable, composed, and as if he was winning. And when he was starting to take advantage, he was just having fun, man. And there's something to that. I spoke with Ray Longo today, and he said he doesn't get tired because he's having fun. Like when you're having fun, like why are you getting tired? No one is going to get tired when you're having fun. And I think that's what you can attribute a lot of his success to. It's just he's always having fun.
That is amazing. How much fun he had in there. Yeah, and that is great, and it's true. The time flies when you're having fun. You have no idea, and that's because you're loose. You're breathing. You're cool. But like you said, even though it was a close fight, it's almost like some fighters just have that magic ability to be a peacock. No matter how uncomfortable you may look, you keep, or how uncomfortable it may feel, you don't look uncomfortable. And you stay in there. He's smiling, and there's sometimes fighters smile, and that's all bullshit. They don't really want to smile. They're just trying to fake themselves out. But he don't have that. He got hit with the right hand in the first, and he kept it. He kept the volume up. Kept the peacock game going a little bit, and he's so good. He's like good what Kobe used to be good at, like shooting, striking, coming up, as opposed to striking and then shooting, going down. He could mix it up both ways, and that's how he landed stuff. Then he started shooting under the taller fighter. It was a magnificent performance.
Well, interesting that you say some fighters can be peacocks, because all throughout your career you were just a cock.
Yeah, just like now. Some things don't change.
Some things never change. Ryan Quinn. All right, main event. Arman had to pull out of the fight. He's probably they're gonna punish him for this. He was hurt, and I heard the press conference after the fight, and Dana was like, "Yo, we had the doctors down there. They're the best in the world." And he didn't say it, but he alluded to the fact that the doctors and Heather from the PI probably could have made it work. He alluded to that, like, yeah, they were down there. We were going back and forth. They were down there, and he chose not to fight. Yeah, so it's unfair. I'm not going to put this on Arman right now and be like, it's unfair, but I think that the UFC was like, yo, this dude could have fought. He didn't. And we're going to punish him, which is why in the press conference, they asked if Arman would get the next shot. And before, I think it was John Morgan asking him the question, before John Morgan finished the question, Dana was like, nope, he's not getting it. He's going to have to wait and come back, because I think they hold him responsible for this, because I think they feel as though he could have fought.
How'd he do it again? I honestly,
apparently he was having back spasms during his weight cut. I mean, if it wasn't a good look, considering like the video of him and Nina Drama out, and he's doing all these back twirls and shit. Like, that's not a good look. No, it's not. And who knew that was going to resurface? Who knew that was going to surface and like this was going to happen? But like when that comes out, and you add that to the fact that they probably still wanted to make this work for him, and he still said no. I mean, it's not a good look, and I think they're going to punish him for this. They're going to be like, hey, you had your shot. Back in the line, boy. You had your shot. They're gonna make him work to get another opportunity.
They could be bitter. There's no question. He'll get there. He's young. He's still dominant. He'll get there. But there's other matchups to make in the division. So,
but man, hey, the UFC is so good at pivoting and making
unbelievable.
And within hours, they had graphics and posters and T-shirts. I mean, it was
the ESPN Plus app was changed. It was
within like moments. Like as soon as it happened, boom, let's go. And I was like, oh, there's like I'm driving to the arena and I'm looking around. They got billboards of the new matchup. I'm like, unbelievable how good they are at pivoting and making it just seem like nothing. And I think so UFC's they're gonna ride regardless.
And for those of you thinking like that's why they get so mad, because that stuff is not cheap.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like think about this. They marketed for months Arman. That's not cheap. That's millions of dollars marketing for Arman Tsarukyan.
Mm-hmm.
He pulls out. Now they got to spend another $1 million marketing Moicano.
Easy. In a 24-hour period too.
Yeah, in a 24-hour period. And then I think out of spite, the big beneficiary of all this is probably Beneil Dariush, because they paid him all the money. I think that was like out of spite, just being like, okay, you know what? We're gonna give your opponent all the money, and you get nothing. You except for the back of the line. So I think that was kind of out of spite. But what can I say, man? Islam, pound for pound, is an elite fight. That's the only word I can describe this man in terms of his level of professionalism, his work ethic, him as a champion. He's just elite across the board. Across the board, he's elite, man. He's got an elite level finish. He's got elite everything.
Mm-hmm.
Really good everywhere.
Man, everything he did in that fight, the short fight that it was, but it wasn't anything crazy and flashy. It was just fundamentals that he executed to a T against a very, very high-level world-class fighter. Whether that was months of training or just jiu-jitsu practice, he's executing that. And there's something to be said about that. You know,
it's confidence. You know, that shot he hit, he gets in on a nice good bite on Moicano's leg, immediately knows which direction he wants to go, knows how to immediately put Moicano off balance, and then gets him to the floor. And as soon as he got to the floor, like Moicano's face said, oh, fuck. You know what I'm saying? Like he looked like he was like, damn, I didn't want this early.
Dude, those Russians are a different kind of strong. I know you know what I'm talking about. Like it's like a rock with arms. Just it can't even put a it's scary. They're so strong. When they're on top of you and they're dry, forget it.
Well, I mean, it really speaks to their work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
And the video came out last week with Khabib talking about sacrifice. You know, like, what are you willing to sacrifice? Oh, you want to be with your family? That's okay. You be with your family, but you're gonna be a good family man. That doesn't mean you're not gonna be a good fighter, right? Yeah. Like it really comes down to that. Like you can't have it all. Like you can't, as much as we want to have it all, you can't have it all. You got to choose. And if you want to be elite like those dudes, dude. So I've read this article. It said with Khabib talk about they had a rough night on Saturday. Like imagine how good you have to be of a team to where you lose the only fight you lost that night. Like you're the main event. First round submission. The first fight, Tagir Ulanbekov dominated Clayton Carpenter. The only fight they lost 3 rounds to 2 to the world champion who hasn't lost in 12 fights. And he considered that a rough night.
I tell you what, that team needs to be in the GFL. They need that team in the GFL. Actually, no, let's keep them away because keep them away. I got some friends coaching in the GFL. He
said he considered that a rough night. They had one loss that they just dropped a round on, and he's like, rough night. Rough night? Are you kidding me? I would have, dude. We've been on trips before, both of us. We've been on trips before where we lost every goddamn fight and had to ride back in the car. Yeah, with these scrub motherfuckers in the back, like, man, y'all made me drive all the way out here for that.
Yeah. Oh man. I remember when I was coaching the amateurs, we went 0-3. I was like, actually more than one night, but one night sticks out.
Yeah, we know how it is to have a rough night. Yeah. That's not a rough night. Yeah. I'll take that night all day.
For real. Well,
all right.
Something you said.
Well, my time limit with you is up. I can't look at you 1 second more.
No, it's really, I can't. Your breath stinks. I smell it from here. I got to get out of here. It's late. I got work in the morning.
All right, my man. So, as always, appreciate you. We'll do it again next week. We'll top it up next week. So if you enjoyed the show, make sure you hit like, share, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you think. And on that note, this court is adjourned.